The courtroom was silent except for the sound of a grown man trying not to cry. He sat stiffly on the defendant's bench, his hands trembling slightly, weathered knuckles white from gripping the edge. The man's face was lined not with age, alone, but with something deeper, memories that weighed down his shoulders more than any criminal charge ever could. His eyes, a stormy blue, blinked back tears as the judge leaned forward. His voice filled with mockery. "So," the judge said, drawing out the word as if it were a joke, "you're saying you didn't mean to park in the red zone? That you didn't see the sign? Or was it your PTSD acting up again?" There was muffled laughter in the courtroom. A few spectators smirked. The prosecutor, young and slick, didn't even try to hide his grin. But the veteran didn't laugh. He didn't even flinch. He just looked down at his boots, the same kind he'd worn for 20 years while serving the country that now ridiculed him. "I was just trying to drop off my medicine," he whispered, barely audible. It was urgent. Wasn't thinking about the zone, just the judge cut him off. "Sir, this isn't a battlefield. This is a courtroom. Rules matter here. You can't expect your sob stories to excuse breaking the law." Another chuckle. This one from the bailiff. The veteran swallowed hard. His name was Ray Donovan, and he had once led squads into enemy territory, saved countless lives under fire, and dragged a bleeding man to miles under the scorching sun. But today, none of that mattered. Today, in a civilian courtroom, he was just another broken man in a wrinkled coat who couldn't even afford a decent lawyer. "I served 22 years. Sir Ray tried again, his voice quivering. "I've never asked for a favor, not once. But this wasn't a crime. You were inconvenienced," the judge snapped, tapping his pen. "And now you want sympathy. You veterans think that just because you wore the uniform, the law doesn't apply to you anymore." The words stung deeper than shrapnel ever had, and just then, the courtroom doors creaked open. The judge sighed in irritation. "Whoever that is, you're late. Sit down quietly." But he never finished the sentence. Because the woman who walked in didn't just sit. She marched. Her uniform was pressed with razor precision, her boots polished to a mirror shine, shimmered across her chest, but none were louder than the 4 stars on her shoulders. General Elaine Hart. A legend. Decorated. Feared. Respected. Her name alone had silenced war rooms. Now it silenced the entire courtroom. Everyone stood instinctively except the judge, who blinked in confused disbelief. "Your Honor," she said calmly, her voice the kind that needed no microphone to be heard, permission to address the court. The judge stumbled for words. This is highly unusual, General." "Unusual?" she repeated, stepping forward. "What's unusual is watching a decorated veteran humiliated in a court of law for something as minor as a parking mistake. What's unusual is watching someone who's bled for this country being laughed at like a child begging for pity." She turned to Ray, who was still seated, too shocked to speak. "Ray Donovan isn't a criminal," she continued, her voice steady. "He's a war hero, and not just any hero. I've saved my life in Kandahar." Gasps spread through the courtroom. She pointed to a faint scar along her neck. "Sniper round. Would have been fatal if Ray hadn't tackled me to the ground and dragged me to safety. He took a bullet in the process. Never once, in all the years I've known him, has he asked for recognition or help. Not until now." The judge opened his mouth, but General Hart wasn't finished. "You want to talk about the law? Fine, but understand this. The law doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in a country safeguarded by people like Ray. People who return home to find themselves mocked, unemployed, and forgotten." Her eyes bored into the judge's. "You laughed at a man who gave you the freedom to sit on that bench." Silence. The judge looked around the room at the stunned prosecutor, the suddenly uncomfortable bailiff, the spectators now ashamed to meet Ray's eyes. His voice, once smug, now cracked with uncertainty. I didn't know, General." "The problem?" she interrupted, softer this time. "Never asked." Then she walked to Ray and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "You okay, old friend?" Ray nodded, eyes glossy. "I didn't expect you to come," she smiled. "You saved my life." Showing up to court is the least I could do. The judge cleared his throat. Mr. Donovan, given the circumstances and the fact that no real harm was caused, I'm dismissing the case. There was no applause, no celebration, just a thick silence as people grappled with what they'd witnessed.
Ray
Stood slowly, his shoulders once slumped from humiliation, now squared with the quiet pride he used to wear in uniform. He turned to the courtroom, his voice low but firm. There are thousands like me, he said. Maybe we don't look like heroes. Maybe we're tired, or angry, or lost, but we're still here. And we still remember what it meant to serve. All we ask is that you don't forget us. The general nodded in approval as they walked out together side by side. Commander and soldier of the courtroom remained frozen, the echo of Ray's words lingering in every corner. Later that night, a clip from the courtroom went viral. Headlines read, "Veteran humiliated in court," until a general walked in and changed everything people shared. Ray's story. Not just to praise the general, but to remind the world of something too often overlooked. Some heroes don't need capes or fanfare. They just need a little dignity.